Okay. We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 10th episode of the Branch Out podcast with Vince and Emmanuel.
And guest Loris. Hi, Loris.
Hi,
Thanks for
Loris.
having me, guys.
Hey. So
So, as
we've
a
been.
celebration of our
Mm-hmm.
10th, this is a momentous occasion. Um, we thought to do something different with our 10th episode, and that is not to plan any particular topic, but just to basically sit and chat and see what comes up. And yeah.
Yeah, I've been a bit bad in that regard. I mean, I haven't actually planned full on stuff to talk about, but there are some things I think would be interesting that I do want to talk about.
Oh,
Yeah. So I completely betrayed what you just said there.
oh my God. On another note, I am hearing an echo in my headset. Are you hearing that?
Echo of whom?
Me.
Yeah, I turned that on. You wanted it, no? I can
No,
turn it off.
I hear an actual echo.
Echo.
Like two.
Say something?
One, two.
Oh yeah, I heard it. Yeah. Is it terribly distracting?
Um, it's like talking in a cave. You know,
How's that?
I don't do that. Oh, I still hear myself.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be as bad.
Okay.
Well, if you want to invest like another 500 francs into new mics, we. So Lars, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thanks
Mm,
for inviting me.
of course, thanks for coming. Uh, we invited a few other people, but they all said no. We. What did they say?
It was short notice.
Uh, didn't you ask them? Okay, whatever.
Well, yeah. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. All right, we got drinks. I
We do.
heard. Loris, what are you drinking?
I have a beer from a local Swiss brewery.
You have the same text.
Do you? Ah, that's
Um,
nice. Yeah, the beer is called I Am Your Father.
Oh my
Star Wars
god.
reference. Yeah. It's a sour stout, so like a Guinness with some fruity sour flavors in it. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I went with you once to the Blackwell Brewery, right?
Yes. Yes.
I've never had beer like that. I brought some back as well for Emmanuel to try. I don't know if
Yeah,
you
I
saw
heard
that.
he loves it. Yes.
That's an understatement. Want to marry it.
So maybe you can talk about why you like that beer.
I mean, it's just it's really personal taste. So you either love it, I think, or you just hate it. It's really sour. It's like it's more it's almost more of a wine than a beer, but also
It's yeah, it doesn't have really bubbles in it, does it? Like it doesn't have
yes,
a head.
I mean, it differs. They have all sorts of different beer, but
Mm-hmm.
their specialty is those sour ones with pretty high, like 10% alcohol. This one has 8,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's not really a beer in the traditional sense.
It's
Yes,
almost
Yeah.
like a mix between a beer and a cider.
yes, that's pretty accurate. Yes,
It
Mm.
almost seems to me like if you
yeah,
took a beer and a cider and you mixed it together,
yeah,
you'd end
but
up with.
still less sweet and more the
Mm-hmm.
sour taste of
Yep.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
I want to just give a shout out to Raymond, who actually got this jumper for me.
It's brilliant.
So
Thank you, Raymond.
Ray, there you go. You're watching. Said you were gonna be.
Prove it, Ray. Write something in the chat. All right. Well, we've got some stuff of our own. You've got a Weihnachtsbier,
Something
Christmas
that was
beer.
just lying around.
Yeah. And I've got some Jinro. So true. And I'm gonna cruise around the other drinks later. Oh, I thought you were just doing reps. All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Pushed.
So actually, what I wanted to show is a couple of things. Okay, so you guys probably heard about the whole Twitter thing with Elon Musk buying up stock, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Just in general, what do you guys think about that?
Loris, go for it.
Can you give a short roundup? I'm not
Mm-hmm.
that informed. I just know that he bought stock basically.
Yeah, I'm not informed either. I just like saw some of his tweets. I can show those.
He's the biggest stakeholder right now.
Right,
In
he has
Twitter.
the most
Okay,
stock.
okay.
Yeah.
Nine
Interesting.
point something percent of the shares.
Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure what that effectively means, but I guess he can make some pretty big decisions within the company with all that stock.
His word means a lot, and he was also invited to join the board.
Ah, there you go.
So he's I don't know actually if he accepted the invitation, but I guess so. I mean, I think that was the point.
Yeah, no, I mean seeing some of his tweets, yeah, you would think so.
I mean, you don't really know with Elon Musk tweets, right?
No. There's this one which is just
He's pretty lit.
It's so appropriate. Yeah, there's that one. Next board meeting is gonna be lit. There's this one which is kind of interesting. Do you want an edit button? And a lot of people voted on say.
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably what he meant.
But apparently, this was kind of funny because apparently Twitter's been already since quite a while working on an edit button. So yeah, he kind of made it seem like it was his kind of like, hey, do you guys want an edit button? I'm gonna make it happen if you want it,
Right.
kind of thing.
Right,
But it's
exactly.
already in the process of being done. So
I
But it's
mean,
good
my
PR.
Really?
guess would be that this is just some Elon Musk trolling, right? I mean, he bought some stocks, but I don't think he's gonna change much.
You don't think he's gonna change Twitter for the better?
I don't think he's gonna change it at all, actually.
Really? What about this? So he said
Yeah,
here, free
so
speech is essential to a functioning democracy. Do you think Twitter rigorously adheres to this principle? And pretty much the same people or the same amount of people that said they wanted an edit button said they don't think that Twitter does that. I don't know if it's the same
Okay.
people.
that's an interesting correlation you're drawing.
It's a
there.
correlation. I didn't say it was.
I'm sure it's the same people.
No, I almost said that. I didn't say that though, did I? Well, I mean, an edit button, I think is a good idea.
yes.
Yeah, but it won't be his idea.
No, but you know, he may as well jump on the bandwagon.
I think it's interesting in context of him being, you could say, bugged by, or bothered, or prodded by many people to, since at least a couple years now, to do something in the social media sphere.
Yeah,
Like people have been calling on him to actually like, hey, dude, like
true.
make a competitor, you know, and calling on him to team up with Peter. Oh, what's his name now? Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel. He's another big Silicon Valley guy.
Yeah.
Was Peter Thiel was working for Google, and I think he left. But yeah, so on the back of that, the fact that the shares he bought, as far as I recall, it was something like 300 billion plus in purchasing. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I'd expect that if he's doing that, I mean, on the one hand, you could say, well, he maybe just does he wants to do that to as an investment.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you look at where Twitter stock was going, it was falling,
Yeah. Yeah.
and as soon as he made this purchase, it started going up
Okay. Hmm.
in value, because it's kind of like if you see a guy like Elon Musk, which some people say everything he touches turns to gold. Um, if you see a guy like him buying stock in something,
Mm.
it's kind of gonna tell you, hey, I want to cash in too, right?
Yeah.
Like some people look at what Nancy Pelosi buys, you know, they're like, um,
She probably buys. Actually, I'm not going to finish that sentence.
so off the back of that, I would say, I mean, on the one hand, you could say, well, he's just making an investment that he wants to see financial returns in.
Mm.
However, that to me would be a little simplistic, and it would be ignoring Musk's series of, yeah, just the way that he's communicating on the Twitter platform.
Yeah.
You know,
It's definitely quite unique of someone in his position to communicate like this.
absolutely.
Yeah. This is
Like it's
I've never seen this before.
yeah.
Cindy commented, the edit button is kind of dangerous.
Hmm? The edit button is dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
Go
I
on.
don't think it's dangerous. It just changes things a bit. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you always there have been several occasions where like someone tweeted something, I don't know, controversial, and then deleted it after an hour, but it's out
mm-hmm,
there. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not gonna go away. There will be screenshots and
mm-hmm,
it's shared on Instagram or whatever. So
mm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's dangerous. It's just a change.
Yeah. You're gonna, I mean, at least now, instead of people deleting tweets and then you have to rely on a screenshot of the old tweet, you'll just see their new tweet with the little edit, like they're probably going to put a little
Timestamp.
edited thing on it, and then you
Mm-hmm.
can assume that, okay, so before they probably did say
Yeah.
something like that.
I mean,
It's kind of
Facebook
like
has it as
deleting
well.
it, but then just still having something left behind
Yeah.
because you're deleting what you
I,
originally said.
the thing, like Facebook has edit, of course.
Yeah.
Um, Twitter, the reason why for me an edit button is it would be so cool in Twitter is because the way that people use Twitter is like you have this 140 character limit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're communicating in these tiny blurps, and a lot of the time you're communicating on the go.
Yeah.
So you're really like it's just like, a couple sentences, bang, tweet.
Yeah.
And so many times people are making typos, or you just you, you get like halfway through the sentence and then all of a sudden you're talking about a duck instead of something else.
Yeah.
And it's in those cases where it's just an absolute pain in the ass to be like, oh god, now I've got to delete it and then retweet it.
Mm-hmm. That. Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
That's where I would see it being useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just making literal corrections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I can see with what Cindy just commented,
Mm-hmm.
um, you can, because of Twitter, because of the limitation in characters, those 140 or what it is,
Mm-hmm.
you often see those series of like 20
Yeah.
tweets that are just, and
Yeah.
if you then go back and edit the first one,
Mm-hmm.
you practically change the context of all those following tweets, and it
Mm-hmm.
it can get messy if you post such a like 20 tweets in a row, then someone replies there and you change your mind, change the first tweet, and it's all of a sudden it's a completely different tweet, although I don't know if it's a bad thing or not.
That is a good point. Although then it becomes a question of why do we need a 140 character limit, or
Ooh.
like I understand you don't want like a whole sermon just taking up your entire timeline, but they could make it collapsible, right?
Look,
Like
I mean, the 140 character limit on Twitter has been a subject of debate since Twitter.
it's just a
So,
pain in the ass. Like for what you said, people having to make a series of subtweets
yeah.
is just like
It's a pain in the ass, but it's also the pain in the ass that makes it unique.
Oh,
wow.
great. Let's have
I mean,
more of those unique things.
I don't say it's good, but it's
Yeah.
definitely the reason why it has become so popular. Because of those
Hmm.
limitations you have, um, it kind of pushes you towards making a dump, dumped down simple statement that just provokes
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
other dumped down simple answers,
Mm-hmm.
and it just escalate and escalates and leads to those
Mm-hmm.
discussions that boost the algorithm, boost the interaction with the tweet.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think it's pretty essential to Twitter, but I
That's
don't think
true.
it's very good.
No, like sometimes you need, especially for like when you want to say something longer, then you either have to use like a twit longer. I think there's like an app where you just basically link off and then you have your whole thing there, or you have a series of tweets. So for someone that's just scrolling through and doesn't want to look at a bunch of people taking up 2 pages to explain themselves, like no one's gonna actually, like if they're just on break, they're not gonna read that. But if someone's forced to condense it down into 140, then they're gonna more content is gonna get consumed that way.
I don't know. I think a lot of this depends on the person. It all depends on the person, actually, because there's people who look at Twitter for the semi cesspool that it is, you know, and there's other people who take it so seriously, you know.
Yeah, but who do you think the majority is?
I think the majority, like
Mm,
just in raw numbers, I think the majority take it too seriously.
yeah, and those are the people that are probably gonna be more of the TLDR people.
Yes,
Yeah.
but there's definitely going to be those people like myself who don't mind reading comprehensive thoughts in written form.
Yeah, but Twitter's not really the place for that, is it?
Well, it have like Laura says, these people they put out 1 of 10, 2 of 10, 3 of 10, so on.
Yeah.
I read that stuff.
Yes,
I find it weirdly more I find it easier to read than like a full like A4
I wouldn't
if
say
when
it's
it's broken
easier
down
to
like
read,
that.
but it's more engaging because you
Yeah,
start
that.
with that one tiny text and it hooks you in.
They have to make it so that it hooks you because otherwise no one's going to read the rest. It has to be kind of like a headliner. What how do you actually use Twitter?
Um, I think I use it in a similar way that Emmanuel does. So I'm just guessing, but I don't really post there. I just read stuff. Sometimes it's dumb stuff that kind of entertains me, but also makes me very almost aggressive if I read it because it's so dumb. But I mean,
Ah,
oftentimes sometimes you find a little gem and someone
mm-hmm.
says something that's pretty smart, and it's just a place with lots of very random stuff. Like I see a tweet about, I don't know, the newest video game, then I see a tweet about Will Smith slapping someone, then news on the war in Ukraine, and it's just
Mm,
easy to scroll through in
Yeah.
a less um, if I compare it to Instagram, it's still a bit more informative and not just plainly useless. Like Instagram, my timeline in Instagram is just time wasting basically.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true actually. Instagram we don't really need it, do we? I mean, Instagram can be nice to use
I
when you
don't
just
use
want to
it,
share
by
like
the way.
some experiences that you're having, but no one actually needs to see that. And they're probably not even that interested anyway.
Well,
you
Instagram isn't that for like what do they call them? Influencers or something like that? Like people who
It's
go
just
and
entertainment, yeah.
yeah, take photos in deserts and beaches and
I mean you can find artists that post cool stuff, that post art on Instagram. The
Hmm.
problem is you'd have to make an account and just always only follow and
mm,
look at people that do those things. As soon as you start, like even just watching some dumb reels or memes, your timeline is just flooded with that
mm,
stuff.
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of platforms have done this. Um, I remember that one of the biggest storms happened on YouTube when they took off of your feed the option where you just see your subscriptions and not recommended videos.
Yes.
People really had an issue with that because they just wanted to see their subscriptions, but YouTube literally took that. And I don't know if that was ever an option on Instagram. I'm assuming it was, that you only see people you're following.
I don't know actually,
I don't know. I can imagine it was when
but
things weren't so
that's long
algorithm
gone.
based. Yeah, it's long gone. But this is the thing. I'm gonna repeat myself here. Just having one option, like Instagram, does not have any viable alternatives. YouTube, I wouldn't say does really either. I mean, you can consume video content on other platforms, but YouTube is really, it doesn't really have any viable competition.
Mm-hmm.
And they can just do whatever they want, and people still have to keep using them.
An overarching question,
Mm-hmm.
talking about all these, when you were just saying now, um, Instagram doesn't have any viable alternatives,
Yeah.
and then you mentioned and you said the word need, and then I was thinking just quickly back to the Elon Musk thing, and sort of the question in my head was, um, if he could change something,
Yeah.
what would that be? Like that we would
Mm-hmm.
want him to change? What are the things that we would like him to change about Twitter? And then as I was thinking that, I was thinking we're talking about all these social media platforms and we're using the word need and alternative and this and that.
Yeah.
And then I'm wondering kind of like what is it that we are looking to social media for and why?
Mm.
But yeah.
Um.
I think for a lot of people, they honestly, it's just distraction,
Hmm.
nothing more.
Mm-hmm.
You think they um you think they realize that like consciously?
No, no, I don't think so. I think they maybe they there are always those posts like from friends or something that you're generally interested in. You look at it, you like it,
Hmm.
but I think it's so. I mean, it's just a drug, right?
Hmm.
You, I I didn't have Instagram for like 2 years. I downloaded it first in maybe 2014 or something. Then I deleted it and I reinstalled it probably 2 years ago or something. And my screen time on Instagram was maybe 5 minutes per day or something. Not
Mm.
even every day. And it just creeps in. And I I mean, thousands of people said this already, but you're just mindlessly scrolling
Hmm.
through content that you're not really interested in. So I don't think if there's an actual need for it, and if there is, it's just highly individual. If you're interested in art, or yeah, that's basically the only thing that I can come up with for Instagram at
Mm-hmm.
least.
Like creative stuff, visually creative stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
As opposed to going out to art exhibits and
Well,
that
it's
sort
just
of thing.
much more accessible, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Like, especially in today's day
So
and age.
so this is I think what I was getting to without even knowing that I was getting to it. Um, um, it seems to me like a lot of the stuff that is happening online, whether it's social media or whether it's I'm interested in art or whatever it is that I'm interested in, um, is essentially us bypassing how we would do it otherwise, which would be involving us actually exiting our rooms, exiting our places of dwelling, and conversing most of the time face to face with other human beings and learning stuff from them. And I mean, I see my kids, um, 14 and 16 years old, and I mean, they have phones, but they have limits on the amount of hours they can spend with the phone unlocked per day, and there's also a time frame every day. So it starts in the morning at a certain time and it ends in the evening at a certain time, and so they have within that time frame they have a certain number of hours every day that they can use the device,
Mm.
and it just automatically shuts off when that well, it logs out,
Yeah.
locks. And but I see their activity, and that's why when you were saying about like that just creeps in, this sort of like the Instagram thing, I see how much time they're spending on Instagram as opposed to, I don't know, googling for you know, interesting information. And it's just it's something like 50 to 70% of the daily usage is Instagram.
Just Instagram.
Instagram, or I don't know if any of them have TikTok yet, but it's
You
basically
should just outright
Instagram.
ban it,
Yeah.
save them the
Yes.
trouble.
Yeah. And that's the thing for me is like as a parent watching my kids grow up in this environment, and then we have people like us who have been more or less, for I don't know, for me it's been since sort of the uh, last 20 years or so. Um, we've sort of almost our entire lives. For me, maybe not, but two of you probably practically most of your lives.
Hmm.
You've been in the social media sphere, and we are busy discussing um, alternatives, and you know what I mean. Like, oh, this one is good for that, and that one's good for this, and the overarching question to me is like, is any of this stuff good? And if so, in what way? Like, if we had the opportunity to kind of, I don't want to make it sound like, kind of like centralized thinking and centralized planning, but if one had the ability to create a reality where social media was used in as good a way as possible, it, what would that look like?
I think the problem is that the essential or the aspect that makes social media so intriguing is the aspect that has a lot of positives but also a lot of negatives, and it basically removes all forms of commitment. You don't need to commit to go to an art gallery or something. You
Mm-hmm.
just look at the picture instantly.
Mm-hmm.
You can instantly communicate with your friends,
Mm-hmm.
which can be a good thing, but also a really bad thing because you're condensing all those things and they just become a lot more potent, and the actual thing in real life loses part of its appeal.
Mm.
Yeah, that the idea with investment, normally to go see an art gallery or do something in real life that you would otherwise be doing on social media, that requires a lot more investment. And even when communicating with people, let's say on Twitter, because the use case of Instagram and Twitter is completely different, right? Or at least it can be, at least when you're posting content. Um, the investment when you're talking with people in Twitter is almost zero. You can say whatever you want and you're not risking anything. You're not, especially if you're on an anonymous account, you pretty much are immortal. You can do whatever you want. You can get banned. Nothing happens to you. In real life,
You can even do it anonymously.
yeah, exactly. There's no cost to it. In real life, you can't just say whatever you want and expect to not get,
Smack.
get fucked up.
Will
Tickled.
Smith style.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to answer your question, I think we would need to use that aspect of less of that fast instantaneous aspect for good things. So communication can be easier. Um, I think it can be used to prevent misinformation. It can also be used to spread misinformation, but you can. I think it's very hard nowadays to, for example, for a government to spread and completely indoctrinate a whole country. That's why you see countries like China or Russia banning all those platforms, because they counteract those tendencies. They are used to organize, like, don't know how to say it, organize a opposition to a unique, like a centralized source of information. There is no central source anymore. It's not just government media, it's or whatever media of this company or whatever. It's extremely decentralized, everything. And I think that can be a good thing, or is a good thing.
Yeah.
I think theoretically it could be a good thing.
Yes.
I think when you were saying that Russia and China are, examples of countries that are banning, um, like you could say counter narrative information or counter propaganda information. Um, I would just interject there that the West are also uh, blocking content that is counter narrative and counter propaganda when it comes to the West.
But who blocks it?
The
Germany blocked RT, for example. Numerous states in the West have blocked Russian um, channels. So
Okay, I see.
that kind of thing.
Hmm.
But I think when it comes to the decentralized nature of the internet, which is kind of what I think you're referring to,
Yes.
um, I think that is only as good as the services that run on the internet, like how decentralized the services themselves are. And when we have these monopolies like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, which is a arm of Facebook, and so on, I think that's where and you see these platforms um, actually breaking, for example, the U.S. Constitution. They actually are banning things that if someone were to go into the town square in some town in the United States and start talking about that stuff, the police wouldn't come and arrest them. Like no one would have the right to shut them up,
mm-hmm.
right? However, you see these platforms like Twitter and YouTube and Facebook, and they are policing the virtual town square um, in ways that an actual town square would, in the Western world, like it would be unlawful to restrict it in that way.
Jordan Peterson, I saw a tweet from him a little while ago where he talked about that sort of that they want certain people want Twitter to be unfiltered. They want at least a lot of these restrictions that you're talking about to not be enacted, and so that it mirrors more of what kind of restrictions you have in real life. The issue is, again, though, on Twitter, it's not exactly the same as a physical town square because you don't have the same accountability. So in the town square, sort of the individual people there restrict each other because, you're physically there. You have to carry the responsibility of all the people there. Online, there's none of that. You can do whatever you want. Act as an individual, act as a group. So I don't know if he was directly supporting that certain content, like racism, hate speech, whatever, is getting blocked on Twitter, but sort of saying that it's not as simple as just taking it all away. Because, yeah, on one hand, you do want people to be able to express themselves in an unfiltered manner, just to ensure that ideas of all sorts can get communicated. But at the same time, there's also the problem of that people don't have to actually carry the responsibility of what they say on Twitter. Or at least they have the option to not do that.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been someone who said the social media platforms should not do anything more than the law permits.
So what would that look like if we just had the Twitter terms of service and the regulation mirroring that of one of our Western governments?
Meaning?
Well, meaning you could post something racist, sexist, whatever you want, something that would generally be banned.
Then it's there.
Yeah.
I
Do you think that would make...
If you were going to be in a town... Look, I doubt someone saying something purely racist on Twitter would make it any less a shit show than it is right now. I mean...
That's a fair...
I
mean, it can't get much worse than this. Is that what you're saying?
And the point is that trying to block these kinds of people, people who are racist or so on, doesn't actually solve the problem. It's a really crude and stupid thing, in my opinion, to do, because at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're basically shoving them into a further in a corner further into the into the extremities of society.
To an echo chamber.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're going to go, oh, well, I was kicked off Twitter. Now I'm going to change my mind.
Yeah, they still exist.
They still exist, and they will feel like a victim of a system that, doesn't want to hear their justice or their opinions. And
yeah,
if you went into a town square and said something racist, what is the impact of that going to be? You're going to have people booing you. You might get some rotten vegetables thrown at you or something, and there are, I believe in some countries, there are some pretty good laws on the books, regarding, like, if you're calling someone, something outwardly racist, or you're telling someone, for example, you can't come into my shop because you're whatever, there's many discrimination laws based on racial prejudice. So that kind of stuff would still apply to, if you were online and you made a group and you said this is only for this race, that wouldn't be allowed, right? Because that's not allowed. Like, you can't discriminate in a country where you could not discriminate against race in the ordinary society. Well, you couldn't do that on the social media platform either.
But that still results in these people being pushed away and then going into an echo chamber, most likely.
Not if they, like, at a certain point, of course, you have to draw the line. And where the law draws the line, that's where the line should be drawn, in my opinion. And up until that point, it's like, hey, these people blithering something stupidly prejudiced on Twitter or whatever, they're gonna be getting the virtual rotten vegetables thrown at them as well. And that's good.
Yeah.
That's what should be happening. That's how you deal with, in a society where someone has rotten views, you throw rotten vegetables at them. That's how you deal with it. In my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the question still is it productive? But I mean,
It
Because
can
Twitter
be.
is so productive.
Like, this is the issue with Twitter, I feel like. Even the principle of all of these apps, Instagram, YouTube, they could all be amazing tools. Yeah, like for YouTube, it's a great learning platform.
This is true.
It's a great resource for you for learning stuff. Twitter, less so. But for informing yourself, or at least like seeing the opinions of others, it could be really useful.
Twitter
Could
seeing
be.
the opinions of others, yes, but like I think Laura said before, my God,
It's
I mean,
utopic.
expressing your complex opinion on a subject matter is pretty
Yes.
freaking hard with 140 characters.
Right, but then maybe they would have to change the implementation. Because right now, Twitter and all of these apps are built up to just be algorithmic driven things to make people hooked. Obviously, that wouldn't be the goal if they were working ideally to the betterment of mankind.
the thing is that, yeah, if
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 utopic.
the thing is that communicating, human beings communicating in written form in general is okay. Human beings communicating at all is risky business. Communicating verbally, face to face, is, in my opinion, the the gold standard of communication when it comes to Homo sapiens. Written, okay, even if you remove us from face to face communication and we're just talking over the phone,
Yeah.
or whatever, audio, that already has removed some forms of interpretation, right?
Yeah.
So some data is being lost. You've already removed some of the data out of communication by removing the visual. So then if you remove the visual and the audio and you are left with just writing something down to someone, then in my opinion and in my experience, you're in very, very dangerous territory. Especially if you are trying to communicate something that is slightly complex, perhaps I was going to go into German, a little sensitive.
Hey, we could just switch, you know.
Spitzly.
It's basically.
Sensitive, anything with a bit of nuance and that kind of thing, you're in a really very dangerous territory. And then on top of that, if you're being told now you have to communicate that in writing, but you are limited by the number of characters that you can do that in. And I mean this not just with Twitter, because even if, and this is my contention, is that even if you remove the 140 character limit, which on Facebook, you don't have that limit.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that we already act on social media knowing that there is, for the vast majority of people who are on social media, they have very low attention spans, time spans. How do you say it?
Attention spans.
Attention spans. So you are automatically, almost without even thinking, you are subconsciously going to be communicating that thing with as few words as possible, even if there is no character limit. But then on top of that, having a character limit, my God, I mean, you know,
When you put it that way, it's a complete recipe for disaster.
absolutely.
And everything you just described is, I mean, it's just that condensation
Yeah.
that I talked about earlier in so many aspects. And I mean, that's in programming you have those three terms. I don't actually remember them. It's syntax, semantic, and another one. And it's like you have a message that you want to deliver. That's like the package. And then you use all of your tools, the semantics and the syntax, in how to deliver it, how to express it, facial expressions, audio, visuals, and every social media platform is literally built around removing as much as possible, just to condense everything. And um, to go back to go back to the question how to use social media in a good way, I actually think there couldn't be any algorithms whatsoever, because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as soon as an algorithms is in play, the reality, the factual reality is tarnished, is not,
Distorted.
Mm-hmm.
yes, distorted. Yes, and you perceive a you have a wrong perception of what's actually going on.
Yep. That's another thing that I realized immediately with Twitter is it creates a bubble very quickly, depending on who you're following, what you've clicked on previously, and so on. All of a sudden, and this was very early on, I noticed that my Twitter feed was very slanted towards um, stuff that I had been tuning to early on in when I started to get kind of active on Twitter. And so what I did then was I purposefully started following the contra narrative, or the, the the stuff that I originally was following. I started to go to the opposite, you could say, stuff, and click follow. And still it is a bit slanted towards the stuff that I was originally following, and I guess the stuff that I mostly tune into. But at least now I do get an injection every once in a while of like a cold shower of
Yeah.
reality. But those echo chambers, I think that's what you're referring to. It gives you this distorted image of, oh my god, there's so many people who agree with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or there's
Yes,
so many people who don't agree with me. But typically, it's there's so many people who agree with me.
Well, the algorithm does that automatically,
It's
right?
feeding you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the question you asked earlier, what can we do to improve social media and make it more usable? Because the principle of it is good. Like it can be a
Is it
really
though?
good, yeah, yeah. It can be a really good tool. It can be, and I don't think
But
it's going anywhere.
what Loris though was saying at one point, and I think you said it too. It was something along the lines of that. Um, there's this thing about well, the internet in general, but especially social media, um, that the ability to delay gratification has, in the way of being able to communicate with other human beings, and other things like entertainment, and being interested in arts and stuff like that, and like you put it, the investment that you put into these things, that has been almost entirely removed. And that is something that I don't see you getting around. And that to me seems like a negative.
That's another thing. Yeah.
I yes, I think there are like there are so many negatives to social media, and like maybe one positive, one, two, if you
The
and I
negative
think
seems to
every,
outweigh it. Yeah.
yes, absolutely, and I think every positive that we had could be realized with just the internet itself. You don't need
Hmm.
social media, like something like Wikipedia,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even YouTube. Just do YouTube and remove all comments, and just have it be a platform for video information.
Hmm. That
I
would be interesting. A YouTube without comments.
They do have that. Well, they have video learning platforms specifically for that.
Uh-huh.
They're
Hmm.
paid, but they exist.
Hmm.
No, I mean it's an interesting thought, definitely.
Um,
Wolf just commented the social media is not the problem, it's the way that people use it. I don't think you can blame the user here
yeah,
because people are literally motivated to use it the way that they are.
I think the problem is that
Hmm.
social media amplifies the problem that is the user.
Hmm.
Mm.
Like, yes, social media itself is not really the problem, but it amplifies all negative aspects of social media.
So
Yes,
if you
Kirsch.
were if you were a perfect person, do you think okay, if everyone was perfect, like not exactly identical, but like people weren't mean, people were, like whatever
This is
whatever
going in a
like
very
more or less
strange
perfect.
direction.
This is going to be stupid.
So everyone's Buddha, basically.
Pretty much. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know. If you think
Buddha
Buddha's
doesn't
perfect
need social media. Just point that out.
and they use social media, do you think then that there would be like any negative um
No, come on.
aspects of social media?
That's so hypothetical that I mean we might as well just be
I mean,
talking about does God exist or something.
no, let's not. I mean, we can. Why not?
No, but this fundamental problem for me is that social media in particular, like I remember a world before social media.
Me
Does
too.
anyone here remember that?
Yeah, you said earlier that
Yes.
we grew up with social media. I definitely didn't. I don't
I,
know if you did, Lodo,
I don't
but
mean grow up, but from the time that you started using a computer, like for reals,
mm-hmm,
started using the internet,
mm-hmm,
do you remember using the internet without social media being there?
yes,
Yes, I had that, but
yes.
the
What were you
time
doing?
frame was very little.
Yeah, it was
YouTube,
very
YouTube and
little, right?
apps. We
Huh?
didn't. Here's the thing: we had very limited.
No. Could you chat?
Yes,
Could you go on forums?
I wasn't interested in forums.
You weren't in
I was interested
forums.
in funny videos on YouTube
Oh,
or downloading apps because
Is
like
YouTube social media?
yeah.
I mean the comment section
With the comments
is
section, it totally would be. Yeah.
this is the thing about YouTube. I think most people consume content on YouTube not in the form of social media because there's no socializing when you're
That's
just
true.
going through videos.
Yeah.
So it's
But
kind of a hybrid.
But it
you,
still has all the problems with the short-term
yeah.
gratification,
Yeah.
algorithm, condensation things.
But so you guys know what the internet would have looked like before Facebook, before etc.
I mean,
Right?
those
I didn't
things
experience that.
existed.
Not really.
Yes, they existed already, but thanks to my parents, um, I was pretty much forbidden to use them until probably
Same.
13 or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Because I remember learning stuff on the interwebs, um, and there was not on YouTube. I remember especially blogs became a big thing. That was like everyone had their blog, and I remember there being blogs about everything. Right? You could find anything that you were
Mm.
interested in. Someone somewhere, a lot of people typically had a blog about that thing.
Mm.
And the thing that they didn't have so much of though was video content. It was more like photographs showing you how to do something and then text.
Yeah.
And the other way that I learned stuff was in forums. Forums were like the precursor to social media because you basically were commenting, like there was a thread, and you know how
Yeah.
that works. Um, so that was to me sort of like my how I came into the internet. Was there was email, there were forums. Forums was also kind of like the big hoo ha ha, and then blogs came, and suddenly Facebook came and changed everything.
Mm.
I mean, forums are basically social media without the algorithm, right? You're just
Yeah,
discussing
yeah.
Mm.
and not spoon-fed stuff that some algorithm thinks you would find interesting.
Yeah, and it's very purposeful too
Yes,
because
yes.
like typically you would be registered on a forum board, and the reason you were registered there at all was because well, if it was something about, for example, for me, it was a Linux forum board. So I was there because I was trying to learn about Linux, or if I was there in a forum board about a vehicle because I wanted to learn how to fix the vehicle, stuff like that. It was very purpose driven. It wasn't just like randomly, oh, what am I going to do today? I'll register on this forum board. So
why doesn't that exist in the same way today anymore? If it sounds like that's really useful if you're looking for something specific to dive into.
There are still, like, for example, because I do all the maintenance on my own car.
Yeah.
So there are still a lot of forum boards, or especially for cars. But I'd imagine they're still out there for all kinds of stuff. And the nice thing about forum boards is that you can really get sort of custom information. So you can go on there and say, I have this vehicle, manufacture date, engine number, blah, blah, blah. You can give all this information and say, and it's making this squeaky noise. And then you link to usually a YouTube video where it's showing you, a video that you uploaded with the squeaky noise.
Yep.
And then someone tells you, yeah, that's that, But,
Yep. I noticed that pretty much every website, even like the most advanced ones like from Apple and Microsoft, their support goes through a forum. They have a support forum. So that really does seem like the ultimate way to communicate in a way that's like specifically positive or helpful about something.
Purpose driven.
Yeah.
I would say, like, really purpose driven information. Whereas social media is really like it to me, social media is like what would have been the replacement of, I come home from work, I'm gonna go to the pub and have a drink. And then you just meet people in the pub and you're like, hey, how's it going, mate? Right. But it's not that good, I don't think. I think it's healthier to go to the pub and have a chat with someone rather than sitting for an hour on social media.
Yes. And to point out what Wolf has commented, I think it perfectly exemplifies the problem, right?
Can you read that out? Or Loris can read that out?
Yep.
So the original comment was this: social media is not the problem; it's the way people use it. And then he commented, I realized that I may have formulated that a bit wrong, but the thing is that it's such a big and hard topic to talk about. It has many different things to talk about. I could talk about this for an hours. And I think I just cannot really express my opinion while typing, which is also a topic, by the way. The people are the problem was a bit impulsive. And I mean, you can
He's
see
not
it
completely
here.
wrong.
That's
He's absolutely right. He typed one sentence, social media is not the problem. All of us instantly disagreed because we have it easy. We can talk at gesture stuff, and he is extremely limited because all of his opinion has to be in one comment, and that's the.
If you could edit his comment, there you go. See.
Yeah, I guess Elon should buy YouTube then.
Yeah. Get out of here, Susan.
But it is an inferior way of communication.
100%, 100%. Although, to what you said earlier about it being condensed down when it comes to the data that you get about the meaning behind something, shall I rephrase that since I have the opportunity to?
I said?
Yeah, no. What you said was, like, first when you're like talking face to face, ideal, right? And then you go into video, then you don't get the visual feedback anymore. And then you go into audio, and then there you have no visual feedback, and then you have just text, which is the worst. So you're losing all of that data there. But at the same time, newspapers, and okay, I just randomly said newspapers, but there's a.
Yeah, I just had deja vu.
Well, that's nice of you.
We've literally been here.
No, we haven't.
Yes, and I just had deja vu, the whole thing.
That's what deja vu is. You think something happened, but it didn't.
What you just did right now, I just, I saw it all again.
I didn't do that before, did I?
That's
I'm not
creepy.
sure. Like I don't
Your brain just played a lovely little trick on you, and now you're questioning your reality.
I don't trust myself anymore. Go
No,
on,
what I'm
newspapers.
fucking hell, mate. No, what I mean is you can still write things down and share your idea in a way that is pretty
Oh,
decent.
absolutely.
140 characters is still an issue, but if you didn't have that, then you could still do a pretty decent job.
Imagine a newspaper where you could only write anything in 140 characters.
Yeah, everything. Oh my god. You could excuse them then for
Like-
doing bullshit.
But I mean it's a skill, right? Those people that write newspapers, they are skilled at this. It's their job to express themselves in written words. And
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
not everybody is an expert on this, but everybody uses social media.
Get good.
But also with newspapers, yeah, yeah.
It's not everyone else's fault if you suck at like formulating your own thoughts in text.
Yeah. But with newspapers too, I mean, every single article in there has taken the person time to write, and
It's literally their job.
it is, and it's gone through an editorial process. So you're talking about, I mean, imagine if everything that was written on social media had to adhere to that kind of rigor of quality control, let's say.
Mm.
It would probably look a bit different.
Yeah, and the other thing is you don't um if you write a article in a newspaper, it's that one article you're making a statement.
Mm-hmm.
You're not discussing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not I mean, if you
Right.
really
Yeah,
want to
exactly.
discuss something, you meet in person or like here on Google Meets or something.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But if you constantly write like back and forth, it's tedious and
Mm-hmm.
it leads to misunderstandings, I
I have
think.
been in so many conversations. It's hard to call them conversations. I've been in so many um yeah, back and forths like you said on social media, and it's just, oh my god. It like you just cannot convey what you're trying to get
Yes.
across.
And
No.
it's frustrating.
It's so
Yeah.
frustrating, and and it just escalates. It just does, and even and so many times, uh, again, because the person can't hear your tone of voice, they can't see your body language, they can't see your facial expression, they just misinterpret things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such, like you were saying, it's just so, it's asking for trouble, it's asking for problems.
Yeah. No, 100% agree. I think it can be I think it still can be useful if you're just expressing an opinion, but actually discussing stuff, it's terrible.
And that's why, like almost a year ago, maybe a bit more than a year ago, I stopped like really discussing things on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what I did when it came to a certain point where someone was not just trolling me, but actually seemed to want to know, I would say, hey, why don't we, if we can't meet in person, then why don't we have a Google Meets or something? Like, why don't,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about this, face to face over, some kind of video call or something.
Yeah.
Because, and I just, as soon as I see that it's a complex topic and someone wants to talk about it, then I basically have told people, even in my own family, I've said, I do not communicate about complex things in written form anymore. I just don't.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Jordan, great timing by the way, because Jordan just said it never feels sincere when it's not face to face. Like you can't tell if someone's just trolling you, like you said.
What did he say?
He said it never feels sincere when it's not face to face.
It's true. The sincere, unless you are.
You can doubt someone's sincerity.
This is true.
Yeah.
Unless you are very verbose in the language.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, like Loris was saying, people who, for example, are trained in how to use language, they can convey sincerity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a whole bunch of other things. But if you are not someone who has that vocabulary and the way of writing, then you're yeah.
And people also need to appreciate that vocabulary and also
That
be able to interpret it.
that's the other thing that I found on social media is when I did use verbose vocabulary and I did try to convey a kind of comprehensive way way of communicating, people hated it mostly.
Because I think you're
People
trying to be a smartass.
like yeah, people thought that I was trying to be. They were like, "Oh yeah, you should be a
Well,
politician
no one
or you
does
should be a
that.
lawyer or something like that." And I was like, "Oh,
On social media, like people sometimes they try and sound smart, but they end up sounding really stupid because they're trying to use vocabulary that they're not familiar with. And then, so these people are just, they get the title of smartass. So then, anytime that someone uses that kind of vocabulary, they just get the title of smartass.
maybe yeah." Or people are so not used to having that kind of vocabulary that they immediately think that you are trying to, I don't know, like show them up or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just weird.
I think one possible solution to the inadequacy of text when it comes to discussing things, I'm not sure exactly when, but I think Reddit rolled out this feature where they show how many people are actively commenting right now in the comment section
yeah.
on a given post.
Yeah.
I think that's quite interesting because obviously that's not enough. They're still doing it in text, but if you could take that and essentially you could click on it and say join a live chat room where there's voice, perhaps even video involved, then you could actually have discussions with people under chats that are a little bit more transparent and offer more of a clear mode of communication.
But is it still just text?
Right now it's still just text, yeah. But they could implement a voice chat option, at least.
I've seen this new thing that Twitter has done as well. Well, new. It seems new to me, where they have these Twitter conferences or something that just sort of pop up on the top of Twitter.
Oh God.
It's quite interesting though. You can basically just jump in and listen. And there's some of them have like 30, 40 people, but there's only one people speaking at a time.
They have to take turns?
I think it's just based on it's kind of like I want to talk and then someone is talking and then it goes to you when that person's done or something.
Mm-hmm.
I usually there's someone who opens the channel or opens the discussion and they are kind of like giving the mic, but everyone's muted except for who they give the mic to, and you kind of like virtually raise your hand if you like
That's
if
very
you have
cool.
something to say. And I think on Telegram they also have the same feature. And I thought that was an interesting thing.
I think okay, I'm just gonna read this off and we can talk about it a bit and then we should go to break. Okay, so regarding what we've just been saying, Jordan said Reddit voice chat would be so bad. Fair. Yet Twitter has this new breakout room feature. Cindy said they're not really open to discuss anything at all. They'll just try and shut you down and shove their point down your throat.
Who?
Cindy.
She made a comment above that.
Yeah.
That she's referring to.
Who's she referring to by they?
People that are on Twitter. She mentioned above, she feels like people on social media are by default way too defensive.
Uh-huh.
Which is probably a result of people thinking that they're being attacked by not getting the tone of voice in tweets.
Yeah. I don't think it's that. I think
no?
That's just the issue with people.
Is it just people being
like
a little bit too...
I mean, I don't know if those people tend to be on social media more, but I think there are a lot of people. I don't know if this is a nowadays thing or if it's ever always been this way, but there are a lot of people in discussions that just view it almost like a boxing match or something, and they just need to win with their opinion instead of listening and trying to come to a middle ground or some sort of conclusion, or God forbid they change their opinion.
But that's not only a Twitter thing. That's
Yes,
like,
I
right?
don't
That's
think.
yeah.
It's an internet
Because
thing.
I've had, well, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, you
I've
have
had
these
that on
people in real
forums too.
life, but it's less.
Mm.
Or maybe it's just the people I
It's
associate with. I don't
probably
know.
again an amplification thing where in real life those situations probably get resolved better,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and social media amplifies it.
Yeah, because I've seen that sort of thing happen on forum boards as well, like philosophical or sociopolitical forum boards, not foreign boards. Um, and I noticed that the vast majority of people on these boards were not identifiable. They just had some,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, uh, fake name and fake ID and whatever avatar. And most of the time, to me, it was just the thought of, I wonder what this person would be like if I met them in person, right? If I just met them at the pub, had a chat about things, right? I I highly doubt they would be calling me these names if we met face to face. And
Hmm.
that's the thing about the whole internet communication thing is
Hmm. I have a quick
Yeah,
question.
because I mean,
Mhm.
I need to, like, if I'm honest with myself, I do that myself too. I'm
mm,
a lot more provocative
mm,
online if
mm,
I'm discussing,
Hmm.
because I don't know why, it just happens.
yeah,
I'm open to new information, to changing my opinion, but my tone is different.
it's yeah.
I think because you can't be as nuanced as you are face to face.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, that was actually my question. Like, are you the do you act the same in real life as you do online? Okay, so you're
I
a
don't
bit of a
know.
troll.
I
N-
mean, I really do
No,
try
not.
myself. Like I used to be much worse at this.
Mm.
I used to basically be like a shit poster or something like that. But over the last few years, I've basically I've I've come more and more to the place where I don't want to say anything online. One of the things is that I typically am identified as myself online,
Yeah.
so I don't use like fake names or whatever. Um, and I purposefully did that in a way to kind of stop myself from taking that, you know what I mean, that kind of easy road out, that
Yeah.
um of pushing that responsibility off and saying, well, I'm anonymous, so I can do what the fuck I like.
Mm.
um but I still notice it creeping in when I get the sense of, well, that person's done that to me, so I'll give it like they gave it to me.
yes,
You know what I
that's
mean?
it. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. and
Mm.
and that's where it's the most difficult for me, and I have to be so careful. And I the thing that I do the most is when I feel like that's coming on, I go do something for 10 seconds and I come back, or I just close the window immediately, and then a lot of the time I just forget about it. It's like
Mm.
whatever. But if I then really do need to respond, then I try to wait, 10 seconds or so, and
Mm.
then respond. But it's so difficult.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with trolling a troll. Or just I myself, I think I'm pretty much entirely myself online. I very rarely like maybe I'm a bit more animated. I don't act exactly one to one as I do online as in real life, but when it comes down to actually like if I have to discuss something or if something's serious,
Mm.
I'm pretty much one to one
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not trying to play a character for the internet. To me, that's pointless.
Mm.
And me as a person, I'm always trying to get down to the bottom of something. I don't really
Mm.
care about the person I'm talking with. It's more about their opinion that I'm I'm interested in if
You're
we're on the
interested in their
internet.
views. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what's relevant.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Um,
Them as a human being is irrelevant. So
yeah, I don't care
offensive.
about your person. All right. Let's go to break
5 minutes.
or so.
Oh, crickets.
What the fuck
We
is
just
that?
said, let's go to break.
What the hell? All right. The cricket said for me to shut up. All right. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
5 minutes, peeps, and then we're back.
All right. Hey, we're back. All right, we have some comments that we need to catch up on.
Oh, hi, Cindy. By the way, I just was informed of who this is.
All right. Jordan said on Twitter you can have multiple speakers, however the rest are listeners. I think he's referring to those that new feature. Yeah. It's just a factor with anonymity as well. People are free to act however they want without any repercussions. Yeah. There's no accountability, and people relish that. I think certain kinds of people relish that.
Yeah.
I think having accountability is also sort of, you want that check there for yourself, because if you don't have any pushback, if you're actually trying to learn something, you do want to have some pushback.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't necessarily want to learn anything.
Yeah. Probably speaking for the majority, yeah, I'd agree with him there.
Well, I think part of that is also because a lot of people are just too busy or too drained or too consciously just overloaded already.
Sure.
You know, this is another thing, maybe this goes into a deep dive, but maybe not, doesn't have to. Life has become so complex than it was, say, just 50 years ago. So not even a generation ago. Look at the life of the average person has become so complex. I was thinking about it the other day. Just to buy groceries nowadays, you have to fiddle around, or you don't have to, but it's come to the point where it's being pushed in that direction where you got an app on your phone, you got your your wallet or whatever, your coupons, blah blah blah, and then you go beep that thing, and then you pick up this thing, and then you're beeping every object, and then I mean, it's like, and then you go into a shop, and there's not two varieties of eggs, there's 10 varieties or 20 varieties of the thing that used to have just 2 or 5 varieties. It, everything's just become. Anyway,
Complicated.
read the comments. I'm going to shut up.
Yeah, Wolf said most people just also cannot accept that they're wrong. They will keep coming up with things that don't make sense. Just as long as you can accept it, why would it really be wrong? Whether it is useful, whether it is a useful use of time is another question. Jordan replied, "With immature people, I feel that people often attach themselves a little too closely to their ideals, and often what you see when you disagree with somebody, like that when they take it a little too personally. Just because you don't agree with somebody's belief system doesn't mean you're attacking to being critical of their character."
But I would say that, in my opinion, that is a byproduct of, again, this lack of gold standard level communication with other human beings.
The lack of having the information that comes from being face to face.
No, what he said about read that last one again.
People attach themselves too closely to their ideals.
That, like fixing themselves so much to whatever it is they think to be true. I think that happens because people are not in that kind of constant back and forth free flow of communication with other human beings, where if that were happening about those kind of things, there would be a whole lot more nuance, and they would, you know what I mean? I'm not talking about like from one day to the next. I'm talking about if they grew up in that reality.
Yeah.
I think there would be a whole lot more sort of like gray, and it would be kind of like, okay, yeah, I see it like this, but I understand that other people, for this and this and this reason, they see it differently, right? And yeah.
That's very interesting to think that social media as a means for better communication has made us actually worse at communicating.
Oh,
And
definitely.
it goes
Definitely.
back to the boxing match, because then people just try to defend their ideal instead of
Mm-hmm.
actually wanting to learn something new.
And not only worse at communicating, but worse at thinking,
Mm-hmm.
because because communicating is secondary to thinking. It's something that happens sort of like as you are thinking, you start communicating. So if your communication is lackluster, well, it's to me that is sort of like it's an out there in the open representation of what's going on up here
Mm-hmm.
It's
a lot
true.
of the time.
We've come full circle. First episode, sense making. 10th episode, callback.
We've got an OG viewer here. Yeah, and it also goes the other way as well. If you keep saying something, even if you don't initially believe it, it's gonna leave an imprint on how you think about it.
Say that again.
Well, as you
Say that again.
Yeah, I didn't
you
follow
heard
you.
me. Did I stutter?
No, you were saying something about repeating something to yourself, and then I say it again.
Oh, good one. I'm just slow. That's my bad.
I think what you were saying is that if you say something, or are you talking about like saying something to yourself, or thinking so, like if you're thinking something to yourself?
I don't know if I do have a specific example in mind, and this is the most. Mm-mm-mm. And this is the most appropriate one to use, but this is also an absolute can of worms. So dare I open it? Has to do with a certain I don't know if it was actually brought into law, but it was in Canada. They were proposing legislation. This is the reason why Jordan Peterson even blew up in the first place.
Okay, let's
I
go
mean,
there, but not go
Compelled speech, essentially compelled speech.
on.
We don't have to use a specific, but
there. Yeah.
like if you're required to use certain language,
Yeah.
it goes to reason, especially if your defenses aren't up towards it, that you're going to also start thinking
Aha.
in accordance with what you're saying.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was it.
As in, it's very difficult for you if you are uttering vocally, if you are uttering certain things
Mm-hmm.
enough, it's almost like you brainwash yourself by uttering that.
I think so. I wouldn't be able to say from experience, but I think if you have your defenses up to it, then maybe you don't.
Right.
But you
right.
have to be actively like,
Right.
I don't actually believe this. I'm just saying
Yeah.
it.
No, I think there's probably, if you look at history, there's probably going to be, especially in religiosity, I would expect that there's going to be instances, quite a lot of them, where you could pull out stuff where, I mean, if you can imagine living in some kind of like deeply religious, Catholic area of Switzerland or anywhere, or Protestant area, and maybe, in that region, there's a certain thing that you have to utter when you enter the church, perhaps, or when you're at a certain ceremony, you have to say certain things and so
Yeah.
on. And maybe initially you're just like, meh, just saying this shit because, well, everyone else has to, and if I don't, they're gonna look at me weird.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and then after maybe 5 years of doing that, maybe you're just like as devout as everyone else is. I don't
yeah,
know.
I think
Hmm.
that's there's a term for that, shifting baselines. Like
Hmm.
if you
Okay.
apply that to uh, whole societies or countries, it's extremely um, it's um, awareness or perception
Mm-hmm.
shifting so extremely slow that
Mm-hmm.
you can't see it,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and it happens all the time, but you can't do anything about it because you can't perceive it.
Mm-hmm.
And it started to happen in the whole COVID thing that you talked about last episode, when like at the first, like 2 years ago, I wouldn't have even considered something like a vaccination mandate or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it like the baseline shifted so slowly, but it
Mm-hmm.
at some point there was legitimate debate, and I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Austria
Mm-hmm.
kind of did it,
Yep.
and
Mm.
if you asked, probably if you asked or made a survey 2 years ago, no one, or like a vast minority would have said that's okay.
Mhm.
Mm.
And they would have been essentially laughed at in the town square or
Yes.
ridiculed in the town square if someone would have said, "Yeah, I'm for fining people thousands of euros and potentially throwing them in jail if they don't take an injection." People would have been like,
Mm.
"You're in."
It's absolute facts. Like nowadays, something that I can't really resonate with is when, okay, someone has a differing opinion with to me,
Mm,
for example, with COVID.
mm,
Well, specifically with COVID here. Okay, so we have a differing opinion. That's fine. But a lot of people, especially if they're going along with the official consensus, other opinions are almost inconceivable to them. Like, how the hell can
mhm,
you not have this opinion? Like,
mhm,
this is crazy. But like what we just said 2 years ago, this was the opinion.
mhm.
Like, it's not like inconceivable that this is the opinion that you have if everyone had this opinion 2 years ago.
Mhm. But the thing is, if your opinion is literally killing people, I'm using the literal,
Huh.
the word literal, you know,
You said it literally,
laterally.
laterally.
No, but I think that's the thing is when people are like, well, it's
Still,
not
it's
just your
still it's still a
opinion.
conceivable opinion. That's the thing.
Hmm.
Just because we know more now, it doesn't mean that old opinions just disappear.
Yeah, but maybe people say, well, the opinion is outdated.
Yeah, but they don't say that. They act like it was never a thing.
Aha. But
I
that's,
don't
hmm.
think so. I mean, maybe some people, but I think the
Sure, I'm
majority
I'm generalizing. Yeah.
could still like perceive that another opinion exists. They just think that their opinion is like the right thing to do. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, with COVID, it's just hard
Well,
Mm.
you know
because
what's
they have
mhm,
some points,
mhm,
but like we can agree that it would be a good thing if as little people as possibly would get this virus or die from this virus. Get the virus is maybe maybe a good thing, but as
dying from
little
it.
as possible people should die. But the
Mhm.
means on how we achieve that
Hmm.
are the problem.
Mhm. At this point, or at least a lot of people who had differing opinions that I do, they seem to not really have a limit on the ends justify the means.
Hmm.
Yes.
Like if you actually ask someone to define where is the limit on the ends justify the means,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not there.
it's not there. Like you have to have a limit.
But I gotta be honest though, I've seen this occur previously with other things in COVID.
Really? Like what?
Um,
Spicy.
but before I go there,
Oh boy.
um, what was it? Oh yeah, it was regarding the thing about um like what you were saying, sort of like people almost thinking that that opinion never existed, or kind of acting as if that opinion is something that is so like revolutionary.
Like
It's like
almost as if
what?
you invented
Like
it.
you, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, one of the ways that I've seen that kind of occurring, especially, is with the masks, where I've seen
Hmm.
people nowadays saying um, that essentially uh, it should we should always have been wearing masks, as in, it's sort of like, well, the mask mandate should have been there, because if you argue like, well, previously during flu season we didn't wear
Mhm.
masks, and
Mhm.
then they're like, yeah, we should have been.
Yeah, but why didn't you say anything?
Huh?
To that person, I'd ask them, why didn't you say anything?
Because it didn't occur to them, I guess.
Hmm.
I wonder why, because it's so insane.
So their didn't occur to them meant that they were killing people. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean that can occur, right? That we realize that something was wrong that previously we thought was right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like instead of them saying, huh, yeah, previously we weren't doing that, and the CFR and IFR for influenza type A is marginally within the ballpark of a certain other virus. um and then kind of that's the connection they seem rather that
Yeah,
they don't want to make.
it's basically a Totschlag argument in English. I don't know what
Straw
it's
man
called.
argument.
Strawman argument.
Is that the?
Is that
We shall
I
find
don't
out.
think.
what
It's
did you say?
really sounds like it
Totschlag?
would mean that.
Torchlag.
Hmm. It's just when you have an argument that basically kills all
Ah.
possibility to respond to it, because you say that, yeah, we haven't had masks before, look at those viruses, it was fine, and they just say, yeah, well, we should have.
We should have.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't even really respond to that.
No, that's the thing. It leaves you in this black hole, essentially. Like, cognitively, you're just you're left in, why? Because it saves lives. Okay.
Okay, at least you can ask that. Just why?
No, typically when someone like is at that level of dialectic with me, I'm just sort of like, I,
Oh, by the way, Totschlag Argument does not have an English equivalent. So,
Damn.
Oh.
I translated it and it was killer argument, but I've
Yeah,
never
same. I
heard
did
that.
it too.
Yeah,
Killer
I've never heard that actually being used.
What was the other thing I was gonna say? You were.
I
What
don't
was
know,
it
I'm not
saying?
you.
Something about. I was saying the way I've seen that, but in a different way, or before
Where to
COVID.
go on a spicy topic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but what it was about.
Damn, I really want to know what it
The
was.
justify the means thing, or not?
Or the upper limit, or something.
Yeah.
Uh,
Another example of when people did not set a limit for the ends justify the means.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Or yeah, like where you said, okay, at what point would you no longer accept it as being right? The other way that I saw that happening was with the topic of mass immigration.
Hmm. That's a spicy one. Yeah.
I'm not. We don't have to get into it, but that's where I really
No,
clearly
it's a
saw
good
that,
point. Yeah.
where it was
Yeah.
it was like, okay, we want to help people. How many? Dot dot
Mhm.
dot.
No matter
Crickets.
where you lie on the spectrum of completely against immigration or
Yeah.
completely for mass immigration, everyone should have
A limit.
a limit on that line of essentially cost benefit analysis.
Yeah.
Like at
Like
what
you have
point
a
do
limited amount of resources.
Yeah.
And that's what when those discussions were occurring, that's what really disturbed me about the side of politics that was very refugees welcome. They didn't have any limits. Every time they were questioned, like, okay, how many should we take in? 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. There was just like some political jargon that get thrust in there. They never gave any limit. And it was like, okay, well, if you're saying we should just be limitlessly bringing these people in, then that's what I'm against. So that's where I saw that kind of thing happen as well.
We do need to talk about that though.
Well, yes, but
No, we probably don't have time to get into it today. Yeah, so
Yeah, I think we would all agree on that, actually.
yeah, I think that's
there
fair.
would be a lot of debate, I think.
okay.
Well, that sucks. Do you know anyone who heavily disagrees with us?
I can play devil's advocate. So.
Yeah, we can just hypothetical. Like you play the role of the people that you disagree with.
I can do the. Actually, it's very difficult.
It takes skill.
No, it just takes basically, like I said, knowing political jargon. just being able to just talk in circles about your morals and then if the other person says, yeah, but there needs to be an upper limit, you say to them, so you just want those people to die?
That's a Totschlag
do you?
argument. That is a
Yeah.
Totschlag
Yeah,
argument.
it is.
People are dying, and you always have to be like, I don't support that, obviously.
Yeah.
That's not my
That's
intention.
exactly my motivation.
I think if you said that, you'd actually like be more like, huh, okay, fair. Like, then you'd be more understood if you're actually like overtly trying to kill people.
What was the other topic you planned? Though you were not supposed to plan anything.
Oh,
Bring
we've gone over this. I don't even know if there's really much to talk about. It's fucking. Alright, so William Smithles. He's checking out. Now we've talked about this to the nth degree, but I just wanted to mention. Okay, so now he's been banned from the Oscars for 10 years.
Yeah.
What? Really?
Yeah. He can still get Oscars in that time, yay.
Yeah, he just.
He can still get
can't
Oscars, he just can't be there.
physically- Yeah, yeah.
I swear,
Aw,
he's
that-
gonna have like his wife bring in an iPad and just like hold it up. So he can still shout like, keep your wife
Or like in
safe.
Big Bang Theory, where they bring in like the screen with
Yeah.
the speakers and the shirt and the.
It's gonna be like one of those you know, sometimes they have those presentation things and someone can't be there physically, so they have like an iPad on a bot that rolls around. He can have one of those there, but it's outfitted with a boxing glove on it, so that if someone says anything about Jada, he can.
I mean, it would
He
need to
shouldn't-
be a flat hand. So
Ah. Oh.
He shouldn't be able to. I don't.
I think
that's really
that's good from the Academy. I mean,
I'm actually
it took
I'm
them a
curious
while.
if maybe you know this. I did it and I had a discussion online about that topic, and someone it was in a SRF post, so it
Mhm.
was probably a Swiss resident that I talked to, and he said to me that that slapping someone with a flat hand isn't assault. It's assault if you use a fist
A
and
closed
punch
fist.
someone. And
It could be true. I wouldn't be surprised.
What?
yeah, same, but it would be ridiculous.
Yeah, so if you trip someone up and then you pin them down, you can slap them as much as you want, and it's not assault.
No, but you pin them down.
Yeah, but if you pin them down with open hands, then that's just like.
No, but isn't there like various levels of assault as well?
Yes,
Just like there are
yes.
various levels of murder. So
Mm.
it could be something like that where it's.
Yeah, but in the U.S., slapping someone is assault. Whatever the law says, it's assault. Spitting
Yeah.
on someone is assault.
Yeah.
Like, if spitting on someone's assault, then slapping them is.
But maybe slapping someone in the face doesn't carry as high like a penalty or
Maybe
you know.
assault is maybe
as-
the wrong term. It's what's the translation for Körperverletzung? Is that
Assault and battery?
bodily harm,
Okay,
basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
that was the talking point. Yeah.
And
Okay, fair, but a slap can make you have a bloody lip.
What was their point in saying that though? Like, what,
Yeah, that's a good question.
It was
is like-
it was basically people trying to defend Will Smith because he protected his wife,
Oh.
and I mean, yeah.
All right, we're not going to discuss
No, please not.
shitty Twitter arguments.
Yeah.
If I was gonna protect my wife, I wouldn't slap anyone.
Although
That's for sure.
there was this, like me and Loris, we were at a friend's place, and we literally, I don't know why we keep doing this, but we were talking about this specific subject, like until 3 a.m. or something.
I mean, to be fair, you can use this incident as like a starting point for
Right. We
various
went more
discussions
into the principle and the philosophical like implications of it.
of
it was just-
slapping someone.
Of stopping, yeah. We went also into other things. It wasn't just put this.
Yeah, but You
I just had
tried
an
to say
Emmanuel
something.
moment.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh. Were you gonna segue into your other topic?
It had something to do with what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because when we were talking about it, we went kind of into the nitty gritty of when it's okay to use physical, I guess, violence or use
Force.
physical force. Thank you, against someone. And I think generally we said it has to be instigated by another physical thing. Like if someone's just saying something, generally no.
That's the non-aggression principle.
Right.
Yes, you just
Yeah.
you can't be the one that starts the physical
Mm-hmm.
conflict, or you shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there literally nothing that someone can say that would prompt you to react physically to anyone?
That's not the same question.
Is it not?
Well,
Because the principle is an overarching
the
thing, right?
principle is a principle. What one would actually do is besides the point. A principle is an ideal that you
Okay.
hold up. But
Yeah, but are you holding it up if in the moment you say "fuck the principle, I'm going in"?
no. What do you mean?
Well, if we're sitting here and we're saying like, "Oh yeah, I support the principle of if someone is talking to me, I'm not going to punch them. I'm going to talk back
Yeah.
at them. And if someone punches me, I'm going to punch them back."
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that's the principle. And if you say you agree with it, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
But if in reality, if they say, "Hey, fuck you, man," and you go and you punch them, you don't really uphold the principle, do you?
No.
But you said you uphold the principle.
No, I'm saying the principle is an ideal. What one would like, and then you ask the question, is there nothing that someone could say to you that would make you break the nap? And I said, well, what one does in society on it, in reality, is not necessarily attaining to the ideal, but it's up to the individual. If you're
Aha,
asking,
so sort of like eine Ausnahme. Help.
Exception.
Thank you. Switch
well,
roles there.
if you're asking me personally, is there nothing that anyone could say to me which would
Or someone else.
what?
To you or someone else.
I don't know about someone else.
Like if they say something to someone else, like if they were to say something to your mom and you were like walking with your mom.
Nah. If it was just words, I'd be like, this is not like they could say literally pretty much anything, and I like the more extreme it gets, the more I almost feel sorry for the person. It's like, what do you do? Like it just sounds coming out of this part of your face.
Mm-hmm.
It's
there's a sweet spot there of someone saying something really stupid, but what they're saying still suggests that they have the ability to think about what they're saying. So there's more weight behind it because it's actually someone who you think, oh, you could even maybe engage with them in a talk. But then at some point they continue on the path of idiocy to the point where you're just like, this is not worth it. This person's not got two jelly beans between their ears.
I was just thinking now, one thing that might make me make an exception for the nap.
Ooh, what an honor.
No, would be in this scenario where in the law of the land there is something that is illegal, unlawful. I'm gonna just pick something out. Like, for example, if it was illegal to pet cats, and it was, if you pet a cat, it was something so horrible that, maybe petting a cat was a sign that you were a witch, or you were, it's on the level of heresy, and, someone who pets a cat is just an outcast of society. It is the horrible thing. Something that you could be burned at the stake for, or, mobbed and lynched or whatever. And if someone started walking around in public, saying, oh, that person's pet a cat, I know that person's pet a cat. And if it was something that also in society people really took notice of and really like, oh my god, that person's pet a cat. I'm using the term pet a cat for something else, but I don't want to use that other term. That would, and if I was living in a society where the police were not really, because here in Switzerland, for example, we have very strict defamation laws. So if someone were walking around saying he's petting a cat, I would go, okay, take a picture, go to the police station, say this guy's walking around saying I'm petting cats, right? And get some witnesses and stuff and deal with it. But if that weren't possible, then in that case, what he or she is doing, is literally potentially putting my life at risk. And that is where I would be like, I gotta, knock this person out, or like.
In that case, the ends justify the means, right? So to avoid the repercussions of this person continuing to say what they're saying,
Yes,
you take
technically
measures.
You don't have the right to decide that. I think.
That's true.
True.
I mean, that's.
But I would be doing it because I was afraid that the people around me were going to do it. That's the thing. You see what I mean? Like, I'm doing it because he's walking around saying I'm petting cats. The reason I'm afraid of that would be that the other people around him are going, shit, is it true? You petting cats, you fucker? And they're going to come and do me in, right? So then I'd be like, yeah.
Basically, he doesn't attack you physically, but his words put you in a situation where you are highly likely to be attacked physically.
Yep. But
so what he's doing is instigating physical harm.
Yes. And he's doing
so
knowingly as well, because he would know, like.
Or maybe he's just crazy.
Yeah, but if it was something that.
So it's okay to slap crazy people.
Again, the ends justify the means. Like, slapping someone is not that bad. Like, you wake up the
night. You yourself said that the ends justify the means could, like, be.
Yeah.
Of a mindset.
If you don't have a definition of what ends justify what means, then it's a problem.
What's your limit? Petting cats?
Well, is there ever a scenario where the ends do justify the means?
Sure.
Go on.
I think.
This.
What I just said. Okay.
Like, what we're doing here is having effort. We're putting effort into this, and I think that our cost-benefit analysis has determined that the ends are justified.
Yeah, but the ends justifying the means is usually used in terms of violating some kind of, rights or something. We're not violating anyone's rights.
Not in Switzerland.
In a philosophical sense, I think the answer is always no.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, is it okay to go back in time and kill Hitler as a baby?
Yeah, this is an old one.
Probably yes. But philosophically speaking, I don't know.
No. Yeah.
Is it not, though? Wouldn't you be morally obligated to do it?
I mean, it's just a big version of the trolley problem, basically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment you are active or not just watching, you're getting active, you are basically the one that's, I don't know, to be held accountable. But it's also, if you don't do it, you also make a mistake.
This is the thing with responsibility. Like, we were talking about this as well that one evening. This came into the idea of sexism and gender roles in connection to certain someone slapping, but
That's good. Slapping someone ain't that bad.
If you're not at the Oscars. Fair. Jordan, I'm going to finish that sentence when I remember what I was going to do with it. Jordan said, look at defamation laws in Japan. It's illegal to speak critically on a public figure or body in many instances. So what we're doing here, we probably would have already violated that a couple times.
Speak critically on a public figure or body?
Yeah.
Public body? Wow.
Because it dishonors them.
Is that true? Like critically is an extremely broad term.
Because
we have that law too. It's Rufmord. You can't make up
Mhm.
stuff.
Defamation.
It's basically the petting a cat thing. You can't say someone is petting a cat if you're not 100% sure they are petting a cat.
Mm-hmm.
Without evidence.
Yes.
Because, you were saying?
I don't remember.
A few days ago, you won't believe this. A few days ago, I was actually thinking about the trolley problem. So this is creepy for me. First I had the deja vu, and now I'm.
I remember what I was gonna say.
Mode.
I know, right? I'm seeing black cats everywhere. I petty cats. No, but I thought about this, and the typical thing is you're standing there, and if the train continues on its track, there's a person tied on the rail or whatever, and there's a lever there, and you have the ability to pull the lever and make the train go on a different track. But on that track, there's 3 people laying tied or whatever on the rail. And I thought what I would do is nothing.
You would do nothing.
Now,
you're a piece of shit.
No. Now, the thing is, then I started to think about this further. And this is where it got really real for me. Yeah, there it is. You're gonna put that monstrosity.
There you go.
There you go.
What do you mean monstrosity?
Oh, is this the other way around? Okay, so if you let the train continue, it kills 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
Oh,
people.
wait, no.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. If it was the other way around, then yeah, you'd be good to just stand there.
But if you pull
you
the
switch
lever,
it so it kills 4 people.
I mean, what? Okay.
Well,
okay, I see.
But
this makes sense. Yeah.
If you pull the lever, then it switches to another rail, and it kills only 1 person, right? So the question is, if you had the power to pull that lever, would you pull it or not? If you don't pull it, I was about to make the mistake. If you don't pull it, 5 people die. If you pull it, 1 person dies. So my initial gut reaction to this was, I don't pull the lever because reality is what it is. Fate, whatever, is what it is. And if I take any proactive measures, then I am actually putting myself sort of in the position of God or something like that, and I'm determining the fate of these people for them. But then I thought, what if any one of those 5 people is someone I actually care about?
What if they're all people you care about?
Well, I'm starting with just one.
Who did you piss off, Emmanuel?
If just one of those people was, say, my wife or one of my kids, I'd pull the fucking lever. And I wouldn't.
Oh, who? The one of the one or
no,
of the 5?
If you don't pull the lever, the train just goes over those 5 people.
Yeah.
Right.
If one of them were people that you care about, then you pull.
I'd fucking pull the lever in a heartbeat. And then the question came to me, what if it wasn't one of my kids or my wife? What if it was my brother? What if it was my mother? What if it was a friend? What if? And I kept stretching it further and further out, asking myself, and I don't want to answer it here, asking myself at which point would I no longer pull the lever? And then I went a step further. And I asked myself, how many, does it matter at all? How many bodies would have, or how many people would have to be on the main rail for me to pull the lever? Did it matter if it was 100 to 1, if it was 1,000 to 1, if it was 1,000,000 to 1?
It
Would
doesn't.
Loris says it doesn't.
Ooh.
Mass murderer.
Ooh.
I think there's only, first of all, it's two questions. One question, are ethics quantifiable? Is one life less worth than two? If we say yes, then it doesn't matter. The numbers don't matter. It's just two or more.
Yeah.
And it's irrelevant at that point, I would say.
I would say that too, but that would be the purely almost sort of mathematical part of my brain saying that.
Yes, I mean, I personally would probably just freeze and do nothing.
So if well, look, you can think about it like this. Okay, so there's one guy. Okay, it's not exactly the same, but there is a guy who's standing there.
A guy and
over...
a woman, and you have to choose.
It can be We're not going there.
Oh, what if one of those five people was Hitler? Or what if the person? What if the one person there on the secondary rail? What if that was Hitler?
That's a good point.
Okay, well then you switch the bloody thing, don't you? You're a hero at that point. No, what I was gonna say is
no, it's stupid. Don't.
Hitler just stands for like what?
Bad
2
guy.
million Jews or something. So
he's a coupon.
Hitler's like a variable. It's not Hitler. It's all the
exactly. Yeah.
If you kill him.
Like if you just kill him, but they still die, that's kind of like okay, cool.
All right.
No, okay. Let's try and break it down. Okay, so if you had one person, like what you said earlier, can you quantify ethics? It's an important thing to think about here, but it's not the only thing. Because if you had one person on either track, it would be irrelevant whether you pulled it or not, because one person's dying anyway. But it's not irrelevant. If you leave it, there's less of a investment there, right? Cost benefit. You're not costing anything. You're just standing there. As soon as you pull it, you have made yourself liable. That's the whole debate, right?
If you don't pull the lever, that's still an action. You choose to not pull it.
Right. I think that's where this actual discussion is. How essential is that action of non-action? Is it as good as pulling the lever? Is deciding not to do something the equivalent to deciding to do something?
I think the problem is, like, the problem I see with this whole thing is what it's pointing to is the question of, do you know the future? This is kind of like, to me, this is ultimately the direction it goes into. Because if you do not pull the lever, you do not know for an absolute fact, 100%, you do not know if the train will even reach those people.
Yeah, but if it runs over the guy on 1, it's probably gonna have run over the guy on 5.
No, but like getting away from this in a way, and kind of thinking about it in a like what it's actually pointing to is the notion of like Godhead. The notion of, I know what's coming, therefore I can do something ahead of time to prevent the worst possible outcome.
But I don't think it's Godhead. I mean, the act of playing God, I don't think so. I mean, obviously this is a very, very, very extreme case, because that's what really makes you test what your principles are. If you're doing it because of like something that's generally meaningless, then you don't really get to test your principles, right? Because it doesn't really matter.
But what good are principles if the vast majority of people, and I'm saying this honestly, this is what I think, the vast majority of people would pull that fucking lever. Like
I
if
don't
they
think so.
I think so.
There needs to be a poll on this. I'd be interested to know what that
I
is.
think the vast majority don't want to interfere with that.
So you wouldn't pull it, just as this is. If you didn't know anyone there, the train's going past, you could pull.
You
the
know
thing.
what? In all honesty, if I was literally there
Yeah.
by the train track and I saw this happen,
Maybe they were even shouting
I'd
at you,
probably
saying,
pull the lever.
"Pull the lever," and the guy on the fucking,
Yeah.
the one guy there is like, "Don't pull the fucking lever."
I would probably pull the lever.
What would you do, Lotus?
Yes, I would, if I have like the time to react, to make a conscious
Yeah.
decision, I would pull the lever. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or even just sitting here, like, what do you think would be the right thing to do?
Well, that's a different thing, because
Yes.
that's sitting here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we are sitting here. Like, who the hell
Right.
knows what you do in real life?
I think the right thing to do would probably be to pull the lever.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the
Mhm.
way I see it. I think for me, it's just a calculation. You
Mhm.
want to cause as little suffering as possible.
You want the outcome to be as positive as it can be, if possible. Okay.
Yes, kind of.
So let's change up this a little bit. It's a 1-to-5 ratio right now. Before you asked, are ethics quantifiable? So after 2 people on the straight track, then it should be a no-brainer. You pull the lever. What if there's one person on each track, but the person on the straight track is holding a dog?
What?
So you'd be running over a person and a dog if you do nothing, or you pull the lever and then you just run over a person.
Yes, then you pull the lever.
Why?
Because a dog is a sentient being.
All right, what if he's holding a hamster?
Come on.
It's still the same.
So technically it would still be the same, but at the end of the day, then you're sacrificing your liability, because now you're killed a person for a fucking hamster.
Yes, I did, but I
So this is
Also
why
saved
this
me.
doesn't work. This is why this doesn't work. There has to be something else
What if it's a
involved
rat?
here. Like, you have to take into account how you make
The thing
yourself
is-
liable.
All things being equal, I mean, in a purely mathematical head, yeah, you pull the lever. Like, all things being
Right,
equal.
and this is why maths suck.
But if it's like an old guy with the hamster,
Ooh. Or 2 old people versus 1 young person. You know?
Yeah.
This is impossible. Math that, bitches.
and a gorgeous woman on the other track.
1 hot girl versus 1 ugly one.
How many old people is one hot chick worth?
One is 2 very sexy people, and the other is 2 really ugly.
Ugly people.
Oh man, try explaining that to the fucking jury. Like, they were so hot.
No, that's what I mean about this kind of thing. To me,
It's an impossible
It's
question.
too literal, and to me, I'm trying to think about what it speaks to for me, like what it's trying to kind of portray in a very simplistic form. And to me, it's portraying the idea of stepping in. Like, would you, if you had the power, would you step in with your wisdom to to affect what you think is the best possible outcome?
Mhm.
And for example, the thing about pulling the lever is, well, you unless you have some, again, it's this godhead principle, or this idea, you don't know that train is going to, in fact, not, for example, a wheel isn't going to fall off and then the whole thing just
Mhm.
tips over. And what if you pulled that lever and killed
All of them.
He starts drifting and then
Derailed.
just
and explodes. What if you pulled the lever thinking you were doing something good, and then, I don't know, you go in your time machine and you see that actually it was about to capsize and fall over. But because you pulled the lever,
Mm.
it balanced itself back out and continued and killed that person. And that's, yeah. Brain fart. I think these kind of things are fun to play with. Get your noggin jogging.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I think most people, like Laura said, if he was in a place in his consciousness where he was able to actually think rationally about the situation, he'd pull the lever. And I think that's what I meant by most, like the vast majority of people. Again, if they were not just terrified about the situation, if they were actually able to think about the situation, the vast majority of people would be, they wouldn't be like, ethically,
No, I think
they just pull it.
I think even if people were to come to the conclusion, I think most people would, that pulling the lever is the right thing to do. I don't want to say that most people would do the right thing, even if they were of clear mind and weren't panicking, because of that element of making yourself liable. Some people will do anything to make their life as cushy as possible. They'll run over an entire village.
Yeah, some people would just run away. Right. Some people.
I think that might even be most people.
Again, those are two different things, I think. Like purely analyzing it rationally and in the moment.
In the moment,
You have the fear to take the responsibility to basically kill someone to save 5 people.
Yeah. Well,
that's been very educational.
Yeah. Hey, for everyone watching, write down. Well, actually, we can do a little poll here. Everyone watching, just put in the comments or somewhere whether you would pull the lever or not.
Well, one.
Ideally, not if you were in the moment. I think just to test the principle.
Put the number 1 if you would not pull it. Put number 2 if you would pull it.
Yes.
So 1 is the default, and 2 is taking action.
Yeah, mine.
It would be funny if now everyone just left the chat.
I was like, I'm out of here. Then
this is too much pressure.
They would be the ones that are running away.
Yeah. Oh yeah, if you don't comment, then you automatically would just let them get run over. And you're a terrible person.
You are a bad person.
Yeah.
Very bad.
Each one of them own dogs that will now starve at home.
You're a cat petter. Whatever the hell that means. But it is an interesting question regarding action through inaction or consequences through inaction. Something like that, where the fact that you do not do something, and this is where it gets a bit creepy, because it's kind of like, in hindsight, you can always say, well, the fact that you didn't do that is why X happened, or X didn't happen, and it caused X amount of suffering. But that's in hindsight. And then for one to be able to do that project that into the future, you would have to actually know, or maybe not know, maybe it's enough to have a pretty good idea of what's, what are the potential consequences, probable, not potential, but what are the probable consequences of not doing something. But we still, is there any instances that you can think of in society where inaction would be where you would get in trouble with the law for not taking action?
I mean, we already have that.
Not as a citizen.
What do you mean?
Yes.
I don't.
You can.
Really?
If someone like has a, I don't know, seizure or something, if you just walk by, you do get what's it called, verurteilt for that.
Okay.
Really?
Yes, that's switching to German, Unterlassung von Erster Hilfe oder so.
Okay.
So you're legally required to help someone
To administer first aid.
Yes,
to administer first aid.
yes,
Okay.
or at least like help, call the
Call for help.
ambulance or
Yeah.
something. If
Mhm.
you aren't trained to give first aid, then you don't have to, but you you if you walk by, you will get punished for that.
Okay. Yeah, well,
Okay,
that
but
makes
that's not in a that's a Swiss thing. I don't. I think in the U.S. because they're really the most relevant country in the world. Um, yeah, I don't think you're required to do that. I think police are, but as a citizen, you can pretty much just. Don't quote me on this, but I don't think that that's everywhere.
Is there anything else that in society you would get in trouble for if you did not do it? Or not?
Taking care of your kid.
No, I didn't say that correctly. I meant more like yeah, inaction. If inaction would, yeah, I don't know, like for example, if you see someone getting beaten in an alley.
I think you're not required to compromise yourself to help anyone.
Yes, yes, but you do have to like call the police or
The
something,
police.
I think.
Okay.
Really?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
But that could potentially compromise you, right? Because if someone's getting attacked by a gang or whatever, and they look at you and they see you've got a phone in your hand, that could compromise you.
Yes, it's always if it can compromise you, but yeah, I guess if you like walk around the next building and then call the police or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hmm.
So it is pretty limited. I'm getting the
Yeah,
sense it's
yeah,
pretty
it is.
limited. Mostly we live in a society where in the West where you are judged mostly on what you do, not on
Well,
what
that
you.
was legal repercussions. When it comes to social
That's another thing.
things, I think it does apply to a lot of places where inaction is frowned upon.
Absolutely.
Can you mention something?
Um, elderly lady's trying to cross the street. She's like genuinely struggling, and if a bunch of people could help her and don't, that's frowned upon. Or if someone fell out of a wheelchair
Yeah, or
and no
for
one helps
example,
them.
if you sit in the bus and an elderly person
Mm-hmm.
comes in and you
Mm-hmm.
don't choose to stand up,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's actually not allowed though, is it? You have
what
to
do you
get
mean?
up if someone if an elderly person, because there are certain seats that are reserved for elderly
If
people.
you're
Yeah,
in
if
that
you're
seat.
on that
Yeah.
seat, yeah.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I noticed here in Switzerland that it was it was very frowned upon by society if an elderly person got on the train or the bus and you know there
Mm-hmm.
wasn't any seat available. Um, people
Yeah,
would
people are
get
very
up and
proactive about that.
yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, we could go on and on about instances where inaction would be frowned upon, which is I think is a good thing. We live in a society that values people looking out for each other.
I don't
Mhm.
think it's that much. Like it's still very specific scenarios. It's just violence or if you witness harassment or something.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But
Maybe it could be a
I
bit
think
more ideally.
there are like if you live in Japan, I think there are a lot more of those principles that you have to adhere to.
Mm.
But Japan isn't Japan a very what do you call them honor based
Yes,
culture there.
absolutely. Yes.
They're
Yeah,
very
we have no honor.
we have some.
Yeah, on that note, I would say, shall we start wrapping this up?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, Loris, do you have anything else you'd like to add or something you'd like to promote?
No, I think it's good for me. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming on. Hopefully
You seem like a very
Asshole?
Conscientious. No. I was looking for the opposite of that.
You seem very asshole.
Yes, you seem like a right and proper asshole. No, you seem like a very easy to talk to sort of guy. It was a
Thanks.
pleasure to meet you for the first time, I think.
Yes. Thank you.
In person. Well, almost.
One day, when we get a studio, you'll get an invite.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Well, thanks to everyone for watching and for those of you who are commenting and engaging. We appreciate it a lot. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found this little chit chat. It actually turned out pretty okay for something that had no. Well,
This just
actually.
no, but I think what this really does go to show is we are very capable of rabbit holing to the nth degree.
And we didn't even do that.
Yes, we did. We talked for 2 hours about like 2 topics.
My rabbit holes go pretty.
Yeah, same. I was
Of
extremely
course, we
tempted
could go on and
with
on.
determinism and stuff like that. With the
Oh my god,
time problem.
determinism. Oh my god. Yeah, but okay, but that ties into like a whole new
Yes.
discussion. I think determinism. I also spoke with it. I spoke individually with Emmanuel and you about it. But yeah, we need to do one together. Yeah, thank you everyone for watching. If you want to support us or give us feedback or find out what we're doing, you can find us on basically every social media. Links are down there. Where's my hand? Here. Yeah. Or whatever platform you're on. Maybe it's over here, here, there. I don't know. Description. Find it. And yeah, see you next week.
Mm-hmm. And if you guys have any topics that you are interested in having us talk about, or you know people that you think would be interested to come on and have a chat with us, hook us up.
Absolutely. Well, have a good night, everyone.
Tschüss.
Cheers.